Sports. This is a major aspect of our life here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. There are many reasons why people play sports. Some play for competition, to find a purpose in life, to release stress, or simply to improve their general health. Sports can also be a means of socialization and entertainment. The latter, sports, as a means of entertainment, is fully enjoyed here in the Federation. Unfortunately, over the past 2 years, the competitive and social aspect of sports was halted due to the social distancing protocols brought on by the pandemic. By now, as these restrictions have begun to relax, sporting activities are coming back. To give us an update on this, we warmly welcome the president of the S.K.N. Athletics, Delwayne Delaney, to Good Morning S.K.N. Good morning, Delwayne, and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. So it's sports season. I see everybody excited. My coworker trying to get me to go to date-based sports. I'd be like, boy, no. So since February, sports has been returning. Tell us about it.
Yes, we have S.K.N. Athletics has been engaging in a number of activities as to jumpstart sports again, as you would alluded to, that we have had a bit of a lull, and we found that persons are a bit lackadaisical to restart. And for obvious reasons, we are perhaps a time period within their lives where sports were dedicated to, they now had to fill that gap with something, right? And you see that person may have veered into other activities. But we want to steer them back where they belong, in track and field and sports in general. And as I said, we've been doing a number of initiatives to jumpstart sports on a whole. Presently, we have the character team that is in training, the character squad, I may say, that is in training in preparation for the character games over the Easter weekend. And so, as I said, we try to engage at the school level, at the club level, both here in St. Kitts and in Nevis, to ensure that, hey, we're ready. The world is not waiting for us. As you saw that we had the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games in 2021, and the results showed that, you know, there was no real drop-off in terms of performances, and so that indicates to us that persons are being training, persons are being gearing, and perhaps maybe the break was a time for persons to recuperate, to reevaluate, and give persons more preparation time to get back out there. So again, we are ready and gearing to go.
Well, that's good to know. And speaking of the activities that you have, tell us about the inter-school championship that's coming up soon.
Well, we have not set we have a tentative date for the inter-school, but we are cognizant of the fact that, you know, there's a lot of mechanisms that goes into the hosting of inter-school, and we are hinged by the local schools having their own preparation meets. We recognize that many of those schools are not hosting a full-blown track meet. So again, we have to, the dynamics are a bit stringent in terms of where do we go and what do we do. So fluid, so that we have to gear ourselves in terms of what next and that sort of thing. But we reckon that some schools are having sports days, especially at the primary school level, and we are prepared to engage them when that time comes, whether it be at the Rams Meet Championships at the primary school level, and if so be it at the inter-school level. But for now, we're just there to support. Our executive just recently approved a concession package for our these schools in terms of reducing the cost of, they usually rent the shotguns and the shots to undertake their track meets, and we have reduced that cost significantly to encourage participation. We understand that as well, that this is an income generator for these schools, and in doing so, that means that their bottom line will look a lot better. So again, we're just here to facilitate. Where we can step in, we will. In terms of the officiating as well, we lend our support to the officials, to these track meets, by offering officials, whether here in St. Kitts and in Nevis, to ensure that the meets and the sports days are done in a professional manner.
I have to ask this. I read something along the lines that said the persons participating in sports, they have to be vaccinated. Is that true? Can you elaborate on that?
As of now, no, they don't have to be vaccinated. Beforehand, that was the thinking.
Okay.
And we understand as well, as it relates to the regional and international meets, those are not requirements moving forward. So we are excited about that. Where persons, for one reason or another, might be hesitant to take the vaccine, and we understand that fully.
Okay.
And we don't want that to be a bottleneck or stifling point for these athletes who have tremendous potential.
Yeah.
So we are open to all. A matter of fact, we have spectators at our character trials, which is slated for the 20th. That's this Sunday at the Kim Collins Stadium, and the admission is free. Again, we want to encourage persons to come back out.
Yeah.
We're not saying that we're here. I mean, we do need funding, but more so than funding, we need persons to be fully engaged, both at the track and field level and, of course, at the supporting level as well.
All right, so Delwayne, earlier this year it was announced that history was made and the Federation recorded the highest number of the collegiate athletes. Would you say that factors lined up to allow this to happen?
I've always been an advocate for, if you want to have persons, athletes rather, at that next level, there must be an avenue. After the high school level, there's a drop-off. How do we keep them engaged? Persons who stay at home, oftentimes they have to find a job, and juggling a job and track and field is very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. So an avenue presented itself where, persons can go off to obtain their higher education, and with the help of Fit Camp, which is run by Marcia Brown, which is our athletes rep, and Grammy Brown, wife and husband combination. They created avenues for persons to get out there to universities. Oftentimes as well, your times and your distance, your performances speaks for itself. So you'll find that persons now have the opportunity to reach abroad, as well as coaches now are looking at St. Kitts saying, hey, let's see what's happening in St. Kitts. Another selling point is at the character games, where a lot of the U.S. collegiate coaches travel to the character games to scout out new athletes, new talent, and say, hey, we're offering this scholarship or that scholarship to get abroad. Oftentimes we hear about the success stories of Kim Collins, Virgil Hodge, who went to those top schools, Tianjo Pontines, Florida's, the TCUs, and the LSUs, and that sort of thing. But there are many, many schools out there, many at the junior level, the junior college level, at the Division I, Division II. I mean, the scope is wide, it's broad. So persons now are taking advantage of that, and we see persons here in St. Kitts already lined up already for the next break to head out again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I was wondering if we're going to have athleticism and brain drain at the same time when the scouts come and take all of our athletes from St. Kitts and take them abroad.
Yes, it is a balancing act, to say the least, where we have athletes transferring from St. Kitts to study abroad and to pursue their athletic career. We understand as well, because of our small population, we don't have the competitiveness that you will see abroad in the US or even Jamaica, where here on the local scene, you run against the same person basically every week. And oftentimes the results are predictable. Okay, he will come first, he will come second, Yeah. But competing on a wider scale, you get that more competitiveness as well. And the hope is that after, they would have completed their studies, they return home here and be successful, perhaps continue on their track and field career, or a professional. I was reminded by a professor. He said that he said 5% of us will be professional athletes, but 100% of us will be professionals. So that means that at the end, we still have to be professionals, whatever job we take up, whatever career path we choose, we have to be professionals. So we understand that perhaps our focus might need to shift a bit. And as we was discussing over the break, that countries now are now sending their junior athletes to Jamaica. A matter of fact, we have a few St. Vincent athletes here that are training here because it's more competitive for them here in St. Kitts.
And they're doing their academy here as well?
They attend the Virtual High School.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you see that the paradigm shift in terms of no more I'm holding on to my athletes, but more so, okay, where are the better opportunities for them to excel? And so perhaps we at SKN Athletics need now to start to think outside the box. Okay, this is what is trending. Let's get on board. Perhaps not only at the collegiate level, but perhaps at the high school level, we need to see what avenues are there for these athletes.
That's very good to know. Yeah.
I like that. I like the balancing act. That it's a struggle, obviously, for somebody like you, but I appreciate what you said in terms of fancying them personally. So that's great. Let's get back to you now. We're going to focus on you for a little bit. We just came out of a lockdown. We just came out of the pandemic. You're an athlete.
Right.
We're talking athletics. What did you do when you couldn't do what you typically did to soothe yourself in terms of athletics during that break?
Well, I'm not retired, but but what we have seen that many persons would have tried to do stuff at home, try to maintain some level of fitness, some coordination. There are drills that persons can do at home with making sure their hands are correct, making sure their posture is correct. So we've seen persons and athletes advance that way. We have seen the emergence of social media as well. So we've seen what other persons have been doing in terms of the Johan Blakes and that sort of thing, and persons at least have tried to mimic those athletes. So, I mean, it was really rough in terms of how do you navigate during the pandemic. There were periods where we would have been allowed to prepare for international meets, where we would have written to the powers maybe to have our athletes prepare while lockdown is happening, that they are given a time window where they can do some sort of training, because I think we would have had about 2 meets during the height of the pandemic that we had to participate in.
It's a tall order for you, but I'm going to ask you anyway to look into that camera and remind the general public of the upcoming events that we have to look forward to. Okay,
so come on out this Sunday, 20th of March at 1:30 p.m. where we have the character trials. It's a free event. Come on out and support these athletes as they make their bid for 2022 Jamaica, the Character Games edition. Also, the following Friday, we have a twilight meet. This is something that is new and introduced, where we don't usually have meets on a Friday, but it's an evening meet. Come on out, have some fun with the athletes and your family as well, and enjoy some track and field. So that's the next 2 meets will be the 20th, and then again on the 25th all at the Kim Collins Stadium. So I hope to see you there. Thanks.